Hello everyone, and welcome to Channel Business Podcast with Hanne. Channel Business Podcast is all about sharing ideas, insights, and valuable tips from leaders around the world who have been rising through the struggles to where they are now.
And then over deliver the value thereafter if it's a service or something that has continuing touch points. Even if it doesn't, follow up, see how people are enjoying the product. I mean, Again, it's basic human interaction at a high level is doing these things.
Caring about each other.
Just caring about people, showing that genuine interest, valuing people and listening to what they said. People want to do business. They want to be friends. They want to refer other people to you. That's how you get that residual business as well. Those residual sales from either repetitive business from that individual that you were great to begin with to get them to want to invest with you, as well as your follow-up interest that goes beyond their expectations of what would be the case.
The podcast episodes will teach you about different things, what you can take in your daily life as a leader to take things forward from one step to another. We will talk about all facets of life. What are the essential steps for you to take the business forward? I'm your Channel Business Podcast host, Hanne Nuutinen, a global business influencer, taking you to this growth ride of Channel Business episodes. So with all my heart, I want to welcome you to the growth ride of the Channel Business Podcast episode today, kindly with smiles. So let's go and dive into today's topic. And we have a guest speaker from New York, USA. And we are going to talk about the leadership in sales and how to cultivate the right mindset to get the results. And the guest today is Brett Knopf. Brett is a high-performance coach with nearly 2 decades of leadership and sales management experience across multiple verticals and tremendous track record of helping people and organizations to maximize their potential through customized coaching programs, where progress is quantitatively measurable. Brett has worked with sales teams in sport and business fields successfully, and he's very keen on developing himself continuously. So today we are going to talk about the leadership in sales and the cultivating the right mindset, and who would be a better person who's done it in many different fields than Brett today. So welcome, Brett. I'm so happy to have you.
I am so happy to be here. I love everything about what you're doing and very enthused to talk today.
Oh, me too. I've been waiting for this call and to have you here as my guest and to talk about the sales, because it is something that the business doesn't run without the sales. It doesn't run without the customers. And basically anything else is like something to put aside. Of course, it's people's business, but if you don't have sales, what is there? There's nothing.
Regrettably.
Yes. So you've been a leadership coach and doing that in the sales field or sales department, so to say, and cultivating the right mindset for different kind of people. So let's dive into that and see how things are going from your end and what you've experienced over there. So before we get into that, I would like to know a little bit something more of yourself, what the introduction said, to introduce you to the audience as well. So what are you committed to and inspired to do and create in your life?
Ooh, it's a deep question.
It is. Let's start with that.
Fortunately, I know it well. What I'm inspired to do, my mission in life, so to speak, is to help individuals, help organizations, help leaders in particular, cultivate work environments that people want to be a part of. They want to collaborate. They want to have fun. They want to be as productive as they possibly can, not because they're being forced to, but because they're being inspired to do so by their leaders. And I find that within that mission, that ends up having a permeating effect on so many other areas of life, so many other areas of business, because when people are going into work and they're happy to be there, they're productive, and their leaders are really focused on cultivating both personal as well as professional growth. Now they're going out and having greater impact on their family, on their friends, on their constituents. And to me, that's an opportunity to really make an impact in this world, where people don't have to go do something that they don't enjoy doing, that they don't find gratification and fulfillment from. And I want to help change that through helping leaders and people in sales really elevate their game.
That's amazing. That's amazing thing. And when you think about the sales, it is something that most people are afraid of, and they feel it like a pushy thing, and you don't want to sell yourself, you don't want to sell the products, you just want everything to go very smoothly. But then again, if there's, like said, if you are not committed to do the things, and if you are not committed to do the sales, there's nothing. And everybody feels that. And then it goes to your personal life as well if your business is not going very well. So I love your commitment thing. It is so deep, and it's so wide, and it shows who you are, that you think a few steps forward and just like go beyond the obvious. That's how it sounds to me.
Thank you. It is, for me, I've been scared of sales. Frankly, I'm a much better sales leader than I am a salesperson when it's all said and done. Yeah, interestingly enough, I've been able to coach it really well. And, I wouldn't say I have fear at this point, but I understand the fear of it, because it's tied into rejection, and people don't like being rejected. That's the new age version of running away from saber-toothed tigers to protect yourself, is to protect your ego from rejection. So again, I understand it well, and I love seeing people overcome that, because if you know how to sell at a high level in service to others, you're going to be solving problems in this world. You are going to be in a position where you're going to have the money to make an impact on other people's lives as well, to give back philanthropically to your family, to your friends, whatever the case may be, to do the things in your life that are important to you. So instead of being scared of it and running from it, I find that that's a skill that fundamentally needs to be embraced and developed and cultivated day after day.
I agree, because in the end, if you look at it that way, everything is selling. You have to sell yourself, and you need to sell yourself to a company to be a worker there. Or if you are an entrepreneur, you need to sell yourself, your ideas, to investors, to clients, to your new teammates, to your staff members. And everything is actually about selling. But then the way that I see and the way that I've done sales is also what we've most often, I think, because of the fear, we forgot that we do with the business and the sales from people to people. It's people's business. And if you just think about it as a human, from human to human, I think it lowers the bar.
I completely agree. Yeah, it's you're not talking to a robot here. I think it just goes back to like anything else. Treat other people like you want to be treated, and that certainly goes within the sales aspect of business and life. I think that if you're looking to bob and weave and try to see which pocket someone's wallet's in so you can pluck it out of there without them knowing and swipe their credit card for a sale, that's not the way to do things. If you're asking questions, actively listening, looking to directly solve the problem through whatever product or service you're aligned with, now you should feel great about that, because you're helping people.
Exactly.
And importantly, make sure that if you are not the person to help them, or your product or service is not, don't BS it. Try to ideally put them in a position to find that solution elsewhere. And, then you can rest your head at night, and that's going to come back to you anyway as a byproduct of authentically just doing right by people. Yeah, I think sales is a really great parable for life in general, of just treating people the way you want to be treated.
I couldn't agree more. And you kind of have to shift the perspective in a different way. But tell me, what is your superpower that you use daily in sales and leadership? Yeah, I know you have one.
Yeah, it really ends up being similar to what I'm saying. I have a mantra. I don't know if anyone's heard of Earl Nightingale. He's one of the forefathers of personal development.
Yeah.
And, I've listened to a lot of his work over time, and he's got this phrase that I've really adopted as my own personal mantra, and that's treat everyone you come in contact with as though they're the most important person in the world.
Ooh.
And I think I was organically doing that for most of my life. I love people, and I'm an empath, and I love hearing what people are doing, why they're doing it, etc. So my superpower is my ability to genuinely connect with all people that I interact with, because I care. It's not a fake. It's not an act. I want to hear, because ideally I can provide value just through our interaction, or I am going to gain value because everyone's got their own journey, their own insights that are of value for me to utilize, or in some cases discard because it's not in alignment with my values or my goals and whatnot. All equally valuable.
I love that. And I love that you bring the value over there. That is something that we provide to each others in different ways. And sales is just one of them. But tell us then also something about, besides your superpower, what is something that most people don't know about you?
What most people don't know about me. I think that most people these days don't know that my nickname used to be Spike. So despite my follically challenged head at this point, I had big, long spikes here for a long period of my life.
He's bald, by the way, at the moment, if you don't see him now.
Yeah, you go. Just look in this general vicinity.
Yeah. You can watch TV or the stars from that.
So yeah, I mean that's definitely something not a lot of people know if they met me in the last 20 some odd years necessarily. Okay. So just a fun little fact about me.
It is fun. Now I just need to imagine you're with the.
I'll send you a picture afterwards. We should have prepped this better. I could have sent you it. We could have popped it onto the screen.
That's true, but we can edit it and then put it over there. So we do that.
Perfect.
That would be great.
Everyone's a winner.
Yeah, exactly. What is the one thing that you wish you knew a bit earlier in your career, before you started the sales or when you started the sales?
I wish I knew how important it was to embrace sales. I was scared of it. Like I said earlier, I think my own insecurities, in life, led me to shy away from those things. I don't want just the very standard, typical excuses. I don't want to push people. I don't want to bother people. I didn't really know or understand the importance of selling. And, I think that if I could go back, to my 15-year-old self, my 10-year-old self, I would have told him to start reading, start trying. Don't worry about how people react to you when you're coming from a good place of genuinely trying to help them. And, I think that would have fast forwarded and elevated my life and my career sooner. But, I think that as with everything else, you go on your own journey. So I found out when I found out, and I don't have any regrets about any of that. I just want to pay it forward. I've got two young boys, 4 and 3, and I want to make sure that I put them on the path to success earlier. That's going to be my version of going back to my 15-year-old self. And even then, I'm not going to force it. We're gonna just make suggestions and highlight the benefits, and they're free to make their own choices from there.
Oh, that's beautiful. So you're gonna play like little sales games and
Yeah.
and yes, and
Okay,
then
we'll get some
performing.
books.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sell me this pen.
exactly. Yeah. How would you get, inspire me to buy this one from you, or and you do these performing classes or something that
Yeah.
to play different role plays.
I think even more important than sales is active listening. I
Yeah.
see these kids, and forget about kids, adults. Everyone's sitting there, and you're talking to people while you're typing. Very distracted. I
It
think
is.
that a standout skill, regrettably, again, I'll use that word, is actively listening to people, genuinely dialing in and staying focused on what people are saying,
So be
and
present,
be
in other
present.
words. Yeah.
Be present, be engaged, just care and listen without just waiting for your turn to speak. Respond. Don't just have your answers queued up for people. Again, that's something that I want to make sure with my children and anyone that I work with, and I have the luxury of coaching in these capacities. They understand that foundationally, that's a huge component to all of this, and people are going to feel valued and understood. They're going to want to do business with you based off of that alone.
And isn't there a saying, what I remember hearing when I was doing sales in big organization back in many moons ago, that one of my former bosses at the time, he told me that, honey, remember that you have 2 ears and one mouth.
Yep.
And
It's a
there's
good
a
one.
reason for that. That just keeps coming to my mind every now and then when we talk about sales.
Absolutely.
So can anyone be a good salesperson?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the phrase, a natural born salesman. That's not factually accurate. People aren't born that way. People, it's a skill that can be developed. It can be cultivated over time at any point, really. So I don't think there's any disqualifiers when it comes to people who can be successful in sales. To me, it ends up being really important to, at the inception point, align with something that you actually value, that you believe in, even better, that you've utilized successfully, so that you can speak passionately, eloquently, and honestly to the people that you are looking to have invest in whatever it is that you're selling. Without that, it becomes this somewhat of a square peg round hole scenario where you're selling something, and yeah, you can have success with it, but you're not feeling congruent, and that lack of congruence is going to bother you, whether consciously or subconsciously. It's going to make you feel out of alignment, and there's diminishing returns when that's the case. So number one piece of advice that I have, or a piece of advice that I have to anyone that is in sales, looking to get into sales, is make sure you align with the product, the leader, the company that shares your vision, shares your values, and that you actually believe in what you're selling, in the fact that it's actually going to benefit the people you're selling it to as well.
It needs to be, it's easier to sell and perform when you are aligned with the company and with the product in terms of vision and value. Yeah.
No question about it. I mean, my first formal sales job, I was selling something that legitimately had no benefit to the people I was selling it to. So, I sold advertising space in sports programs like you see at the stadiums, in college professional sports. We were selling to the contractors who worked on campus, built the stadiums. And contracting is a bid-based business. So when we're getting on the phone telling people, hey, all the administrators are going to see this, all the decision makers are going to see this, you're going to have a leg up. And they're saying, dude, it's a bid-based system. It's not going to do anything for me. Click 200-300 times a day. That was rough. But it was a tremendous education for me. Despite not, like, literally towards the end of my 9 months there, I was walking in and almost vomiting on my desk. And that's not an exaggeration. I was so torn up by not having that congruence, not having that alignment. not selling something that was benefiting people. And I wasn't having success. I certainly wasn't having fun. And I wasn't good at it. But again, I took a lot of lessons out of that have helped me moving forward for myself and for the teams that I've had the pleasure of working with over the years.
So they really need to, people who are doing sales and who are running the organization or the company, whatever there is in the case, you need to focus on these kind of things, that you are aligned with the values as said before, and it gives a purpose. It serves a need to the people that you are dealing with and people you are talking to.
Yes.
So that's what needs to be focused on.
Yes, 100%.
Right. Okay. What about the essential things in channeling business forward and being in the sales? Based on what your experience, what is the most essential part besides what you said already? But
yeah, I really believe that is the most essential part from both ends. We haven't talked as much from the leader end of the equation, but leaders have to be very clear about what characteristics they see from their top performers and interview people through that lens of specificity of what you're looking for, or identifying the particular attributes of a candidate that you feel like are moldable within those characteristics. I think that a lot of times people just hire generally, or they don't have a clear-cut picture of what their best people are doing so that they can try to replicate that within their hiring practices. They end up spending a lot of time, money, energy, with the wrong people. And I would say
wrong people at the wrong place, or right people at the wrong place. You mean that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. By wrong people, I mean just people that shouldn't have necessarily, they're just not the right fit for the role, the company culture, whatever the case may be, because the employer didn't do a good job of clarifying that on their own end, and then interviewing through that lens. So that's where you run into retention issues, lack of productivity, toxic culture, because you're not putting the right pieces together. So get it right from the inception point, and you are going to create fun, collaborative, productive teams and people that want to be there and put their best foot forward, rather than you having to force them and drive them to do that. I heard a phrase recently from a colleague of mine that I loved. I had never heard it. They said, look to light a fire within people, not under people.
That's right.
It's brilliant. I never thought of it like that. And it's so spot on. And I think that, again, there's this tendency to, try to force people to do things. And it just doesn't work. Short, intermediate, or maybe short term to some extent, but intermediate and long term, very, very rarely.
I agree. And if you have the passion, if you have the desire, if you have the fire to do whatever that is, sales or gardening or playing football, whatever the case may be, of course you're going to put your best foot forward over there. But if you are not in alignment with that, and you don't know what you like, you don't know what your strengths are, how could you do things well and succeed? That's impossible combination, right?
I think so. I wouldn't say impossible, but close enough to impossible. The statistics, I haven't done the math on it necessarily.
Oh yeah, well, maybe we forget the impossible, but it's very
You've been
hard.
around long enough to have seen it enough times in both iterations to know that, it's percentile wise, you're not going to be having as much success consistently as the other methodology.
That's right. I agree. And I love your explanation about that, so that everybody can understand who does sales or who leads a company that, of course, needs sales and how to recruit. I love that you point out so many different things over there that need to be taken care of properly in the first place. So how can a person like selling, and how can you create that positive mindset towards selling? Sure. Besides finding the passion and what you mentioned, to having the fire inside yourself.
Yeah, it's It's funny because you're going to hear me continue to circle around to
Mm,
very similar concepts. I'm a basics guy. I think life is complex, business is complex, but it doesn't need to be. It's
I
really
agree.
nailing the fundamentals, and just executing on the fundamentals is already putting you in a tremendous position to have success, and not just financial success, but happiness, fulfillment, gratitude, all of
Mm.
the things along those lines. So pardon me if we do keep coming back to
No, but
similar
then
concepts.
that's always what's essential here.
Yeah,
Keep
but
it saying, keep it repeating.
for people to have fun, they need to. You want to make sure if you're aligning with an organization
Mm.
or a leader, you want to make sure you're interviewing them the same way you're being interviewed. Now, I think it's a mistake. People operate out of desperation, where I have to get this job, I have to impress and put on
And that's
a fake
pushed
front.
energy.
Doesn't work. Doesn't
Yeah.
work. You've got to be authentic. I say it all the time, or I have, in my career, is the reason why, the job I mentioned was not for me was because I had to put on a fake front. It wasn't
Yeah.
me. I couldn't be myself and genuine and authentic. And that sucked. To have fun with sales, you got to be yourself. You got to let it rip. You got to be, play fast and loose out there, because otherwise people are going to pick up on that anyway. You're not going to have success, which isn't fun. You're not going to feel good about it, which isn't fun. So, you really want to make sure that you are looking to get aligned with a product, service, company, leader that you enjoy being around, that cares about you on a personal level, in addition to anything else. I said earlier on, my mission, my goal
Yeah.
is to make sure that personal growth is factored in and facilitated in work environments, as well as professional growth. And it's collaborative, and that's something that's understood by both parties at the outset, what the expectations are on those
I love that.
fronts. And then we work together to everyone lift each other up.
I like that. And that you mentioned lighting each other's up and just supporting everyone to be in the right place and be authentic you, and just performing from there. And then it comes to the team, and you've been leading sales teams, and you've been teaching them how to do the sales and how to be the better and how to succeed in all that. So what is your takeaway from there, from that, and leading a team and finding the way to be yourself and then do your job in that
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. So it goes back to hiring. I've always
Mm.
done a really good job of team building, because
Mm.
I hire predicated on character,
Yeah.
on perceived work ethic, the soft skills significantly more so than the hard skills. I find that I can teach it. Organizations I've aligned with can teach it well, as far as the nuts and bolts of the product or service, how to build and run a strong business. All of those things are coachable. How to be a good, genuine, sociable human being, someone that genuinely cares about other people. Regrettably, that's outside of my scope of practice, despite my best efforts otherwise. So, when you put in, my philosophy has been, if I can put enough great high character people together that are going to work hard and be coachable and have a growth and open mindset, we're gonna win. We're gonna win. It may take, I can't predict necessarily how long, but we're gonna win through the accumulation of that type of talent and building that type of culture. Because the other byproduct of that is, let's say you take over a pre-existing team.
Yeah.
Chances are there's going to be some dissension, some things that are not going on, detractors in the building from your predecessor, unless they were operating with some of the principles that we've been discussing today. So, you are going to leave those folks with the opportunity to either come to the cool kids table where everyone's having fun and being productive, or, just being upset, being unhappy, and just not being a valuable contributor to the team, not being a valuable contributor to yourself. So, those people weed themselves out. And as a leader, I think it's important to be direct and forthright with people about that and tell them, hey, I want you to be on this team. You're here for a reason. If you're not happy, you've got to go do something that makes you happy. If it's here, I've got you all the way. I'll support you with any skill development, encouragement, etc. But if not, don't be here and take away from other people's experience. Don't take away from your own experience. Go do something that you find greater joy and alignment in. And I think that if we can be open and honest and transparent about those things, people respect that. And if they don't, then they definitely shouldn't be on the team anyway, which is really showcases those things. And that's how you can really build strong teams where your messaging is being perpetuated from the players on the field rather than from the leader at all times. Because people that are having success are just buying into what you are selling, what you're coaching.
That is so right. And so building a sales team is being authentic you at all times, and then just adding up the different characters that can create this amazing team that supports each other's, and then you can create this environment where it's safe to learn and grow and be open-minded and share things and just take one step at a time towards the mutual or the goal that you have set over there. So what about the company's story? That every company has a story, and they have a vision, and they have the past and everything, and then new people come in, and it changes the story a little bit because we all are different kind of people and we see and experience things a little different. How can the company's story help that salesperson to do the sales and have the good sales process?
Yeah, I think that the strongest companies, they know who they are, and they also know who their audience is. And I think they start by figuring out who their audience is first and foremost, so that they can tailor their message, tailor their story accordingly to be that genuine and authentic. Have those core values and principles and SOPs and standards that are consistently replicable, are consistently effective, that people that are coming into the organization have those guardrails, so to speak, to work within, that they know, like, for example, here's our pitch, here's our rebuttals, here's what we do, here's why we do it, so that they can take that, study that, practice it. Repetition is critical element of anything, any skill acquisition, sales in particular. People don't practice, and role play is a huge tool, which, what we can talk about in a while here. But, you can help people by being very crystal clear about those things, giving them those guardrails, and then allowing them to utilize them in the context of who they are.
So
they don't have to say
their own words into their
they don't have to say it word for word. At the beginning, I think it's very important for them to practice it like that, and at least try to adhere to some sort of scripting, and that's just going to build the skill. Obviously, a company that's successful is successful for a reason, and if they've had these standards and these things in place for a while, you don't want to come in and try to reinvent the wheel. That being said,
because it's been working already. Yeah,
it's working. But also, as a leader, being open-minded that, hey, maybe there's someone coming in that's innovative, that's creative, that is thinking of things that people in your organization haven't. So if they, you can give them a little bit of leeway to try different things. And if they can prove that that's successful, being open to that. Some organizations are just like, nope, it's my way or the highway. You got it. Yeah. The job that I referenced before, it was completely scripted as far as the pitch, completely scripted as far as the rebuttals. And if you deviated from that on one of your calls, sometimes the boss's wife would be unknowingly listening in on your calls. You'd hang up the phone, pick it back up. This is actually a true story. The phone would ring as soon as you put it down, pick it up. It was the boss's wife. And she'd say, Brett, would you say you're the dumbest mother effer alive?
What?
I'd say, no, I not not to my knowledge. It's
Yeah.
like, well, why would you deviate from the script that you know works? That's just plain stupid. Click.
And they didn't even hear your story,
Yeah.
your response.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
That leaves me
I mean, that's a
breathless.
dramatic example of what I'm saying here, but yeah, and I think there's got to be structure and guidelines and things that provide those guardrails, but you don't want to box people in, and you want to be
Yeah,
open
not
minded
too
to
much. Yeah.
alternative ways of doing things that could be even more effective than what's currently been the case. Because you gotta evolve at some point.
Yeah.
So you never know when that point is necessarily.
Exactly. And the world is changing all the time. So we have to adapt to these kind of things. And every person is a different one. So we also need to remember that one, that I'm different to yours, and we are having different experiences, and we look at the world from different realities. So we need to have this open mind, what you said before. And when building these, I was just going to ask you about the sales process and the sales funnel, but you mentioned something about it already, what to build it and how to build and have the structures. But is there something that you can add to that, more of what you said, that how to build a good and effective sales funnel, and then how does the sales person fit into that, besides being the authentic and having the scripts and everything there, like the facilities are there, but then you have to modify that to fit into your own personality and do it that way. But what are the other things it requires from the company to have an effective sales funnel?
Yeah, I think again it goes back to having a very clear cut definition of who your ideal clients are and targeting everything as far as outreach, marketing, etc., to attract that type of individual into your sales funnel. I think that independently of that, you're kind of throwing darts at the dartboard with a blindfold on.
Yeah.
And that's just not going to be as effective. We go back to fundamentals and taking complex things. Be linear in your thought process, be linear in your actions. And in order to do that, you've got to have clear-cut goals, clear-cut definitions of what you're trying to accomplish. Otherwise, it becomes scattershot. And if you do that, you put your teams in the best position to succeed, because it eliminates or certainly minimizes ambiguity about what the intended mission is here, what the intended outcome is, and how to go about doing that. And there can be various ways to go about doing that. And I think it's important for leaders to crowdsource and have focus groups and really understand from the team's perspective, like a leadership council, for example. What do you guys need to help you have further success, and really making sure you're understanding and delivering those things. You're putting people in a great position to succeed. And just a little bit of a tangent, but it's a point that you've touched on here. Specificity to the individual is important. You've got your generalized SOPs and scripts and so on and so forth, ways of doing things. But at the inception point of employment with people, you want to figure out why they're there, what motivates them, what inspires them, what's their emotional trigger, what do they need personally and professionally
what motivates them, what inspires them, right?
You got to deliver that specifically to the individual, and that's how you're going to grow. They're going to want to run through walls for you. They're going to want to perform. That's how you light that fire within, because you're showcasing that genuine interest in them and what makes them tick, rather than just trying to, I use the same phrase, box people into something that they're not necessarily passionate about or equipped for, whatever the case may be. And that goes a long way. And you also develop a leadership pipeline at that point, because you are you're putting people in a position to understand, hey, here's what I do, here's what you do. Let's figure out how to collaborate. I respect your opinion. And, people are invested in the people in the building. And as a result, they're also very invested in the company and the leadership as well.
I love that you touch base all these things. There are lots of, let's say, gems that I think that
I love
you
that
need.
word. I use it all the
Yeah,
time.
me too. I love it because I think it's just point out the things that you need to really focus on and what needs your attention. And that's why I love what you mentioned about building the leadership, but like a journey, and also the employee journey and the sales funnel over there. But doesn't that also apply to the customers, that each one of us as a salesperson are individuals, we're different. And then when we have the fire over there and the goal and what inspires us, the same thing is with the clients. And if those two are in alignment, isn't there like a success case for sales?
That's the path of least resistance with all of it. So many of these principles are highly applicable to life. Forget about just sales or leadership or business. It's ask questions, actively listen to people, provide the specific solution that they're looking for based on what they say, and then over deliver the value thereafter. If it's a service or something that has continuing touch points, even if it doesn't, follow up, see how people are enjoying the product. Again, it's basic human interaction at a high level is doing these things.
Caring about each other.
Just caring about people, showing that genuine interest, valuing people, and listening to what they said. People want to do business. They want to be friends. They want to refer other people to you. That's how you get that residual business as well. Those residual sales from either repetitive business from that individual that you were great to begin with, to get them to want to invest with you, as well as your follow-up interest that goes beyond their expectations of what would be the case. So, I don't find it overly complicated. I think, again, it's insecurities, built up trauma paradigms, whatever the case may be. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole necessarily.
No, not now.
Yeah, we'll save that.
But we
for
just
another
touch
day.
pointed it so that you pay attention to that. Whoever is listening, that don't forget that
things limit people, and doesn't have to be that way. You can. I used a phrase earlier: sell in service to others, and you can hold your head up high and know that you're doing good work, and everyone is a winner. And I think that's key element to all of this. Look for opportunities where everyone wins in the interaction and or transaction.
I love that. So that is how you build your sales mindset.
Yes. Yeah, very much. It's I have fun with it. I have fun with life. I think it's just, there's so much craziness and bad, part of my language, shit out there that, if I can help people in a professional setting where they spend so much of their time and their identity oftentimes gets tied up into it, I can help them have fun, be successful financially, work with other great people that are of a growth mindset, then I'm maximizing my personal impact in a beneficial manner for as many people as I can. I can't change other things externally. I can only control what I'm doing and just giving everyone that I come in contact with a tremendous experience. And that's not from any place of hubris. As a matter of fact, I sometimes have a bad habit of devaluing myself still. I work on those things, but
I think we all devaluate each other.
I started listening
every now
to
and
the
then.
objective feedback that I've been getting, and like actually looking at it critically through journaling and other things of those manners. But in any event, that's the way that I look at helping people live happy and successful lives.
I love that. And I love something that I want to crop into that, what you said, that helping each others and cooperating and co-creating things together. So what I remember back in the times when I was part of this big sales team, that when I worked with different departments, like whether it was finance or risk analysis and service and let's say restaurant people and the people who did, let's say, accommodation services, and because my customers needed all of those things. And when I was talking to each one of these departments and the people over there, the workers, the leaders, then I could create this nice service model and service like a plate for my customers, and then I could serve them better. And that helped me. And I love that you mentioned something about that, like, being there for others and just going across the borders, so to say.
I like that, cross the borders. Yep.
Yeah, I love that. Tell us quickly, what kind of role a leader play in sales? You mentioned something of that before, but I just want you to highlight a little bit more.
Critical role. You've got to lead by example. I think that.
So there's the one.
Yeah.
Lead by example. Yeah.
You have to lead by example. Never ask anyone to do anything that you are not willing to do yourself, or ideally have done yourself. There's credibility and respect involved in making sure that you're not do as I say, but more so do as I do. And here's why, explaining things from a why perspective, being transparent about why things are a certain way and how that's going to be beneficial to everyone involved. I'd say from a leader's perspective, I touched on this a couple of minutes ago, but you've got to help people practice. Role play, while uncomfortable, is the practice end of the equation, so that when you get in the game, you've got those reps built up that you can.
So you have the confidence of doing those kind of things, right?
Confidence, yeah, exactly. And I always, I've done it so many times for so many teams in so many different industries over the years. I always like to go first. That's that leading by example. If I'm in a room of 50, 75, 100 people that we're working on this skill set, I'm going to role play first, so they see what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Yeah. And I encourage them to be open and honest in their feedback. I want them to critique the words that I'm saying. I want them to critique my body language. I want the individual who I'm role playing with not to just roll over and give me the sale for the sake of it. Base it on real scenarios that you encounter, challenging scenarios that you encounter, so that we can workshop it and everyone gets the opportunity to see and critique. And then it's their turn. And they see that, while it may not be comfortable, growth is not comfortable. It's just, it's not supposed to be. And that's where you get better, and you are going to be in a significantly greater position to have success as a result of that. So to circle back, leaders got to be the facilitator of all of these things. So critical role.
I love that. Being the facilitator of different possibilities to become in reality. I love that. I love that. Who has been your role model in sales or in high performance? I love to hear that. Besides the Earl
Nightingale.
Nightingale. I never remember that.
Yeah, I have a lot.
Who else?
I'd say Robert Kiyosaki. That was the gentleman that I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad many years ago. And that was the impetus for me saying, oh, wow, stop running away from sales. Let's get in there and get it done. I think he uses the example of, knocking door-to-door sales as his entry point. So that was a big one. Dean Graziosi, Tony Robbins. I did a mentorship with them, and that's where that phrase "selling in service to others" comes from.
I love that phrase.
I think it's so spot on, because you can feel good about it. You can have fun with that and deliver those wins. So those guys were big influences for me. And then Brendan Burchard. I've got the book back here, High Performance Habits. I think just discipline and, really being structured and intentional in what you're doing and why you're doing it is tremendously beneficial in sales and business and life. And once again, I just find that a lot of these things intersect and intertwine. So, you were even talking about work-life balance. You don't necessarily need work-life balance
because everything's tied together.
It's all tied together.
Yeah.
It's all tied together. So as a leader, that's why I keep coming back to that point of cultivating and helping facilitate personal growth in addition to professional growth. Even if that means that through that, you're going to lose people because they're going on to bigger and better things. You encourage that.
But that's going to pay back to you, I think.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Because they might even, when they move away from your company under your leadership, they might just, reference your services to others at some point, and that's going to create sales. But
they do.
I was going to ask you about how do you cultivate a high performance mindset, but you just answered to that question. So people just rewind it a little bit.
Baby.
There we go. But I think this next question is critical, and I just cannot avoid asking that. What do you do with those people, the staff members or a salesperson, whoever that is, who resist to work hard and having these adjustments in order to achieve the goals, what you have in the company or the sales team or whatever? How do you overcome those kind of things?
Yeah, it's about being direct with people, and it's about helping them cultivate the skills that they need to be successful, and ideally helping them with the mindset. But it's really important to identify early on in someone's career as a salesperson, really any role, frankly, whether there is a skill issue or a will issue.
I love that. Skill or will.
Skill or will is so critical, because you can be patient with the results with the people that just need greater skill development, but they're actively trying and proactively coming to those role play workshops, coming to you for additional support and help, and then taking it and being actionable with it. It's the people that say they want to do things or they are doing things, and in reality, they are not, because they're not putting forth the effort. They don't have the will to succeed. And those are the people you have to be direct with. I think I used the phrasing earlier, and I've said it so many times over the course of my career, but
replace.
Yeah, it's like, listen, I want it to be you. You're on this team for a reason. If you're going to do what you say, we're great. We can make this work. But if not, on a long enough timeline, I'm going to find people that are willing to do what they say they're going to do in order to have success. So let's figure out what that looks like. Let's set up an action plan or a game plan or whatever the case may be for the skill development. And here's what you do. Here's what I do. It's not just, go fly on your own. I'll take responsibility on my end to continue to support you in these areas. But, if we are not seeing progress, then we're going to have to separate this relationship. So, being direct with the expectations as well as the consequences of not following through. I can't tell you how many times that I've unfortunately had to let people go where they're thanking me as I am terminating their employment, because they said, hey, you told me what was going to happen, and I appreciate that.
I love that. So that is also being example and being authentic, and also seeing the good in others, even though that they may not know that, okay, we all know that maybe this is not going the way that we want it to go, but there must be something, either skill or the will issue, and then we are finding together a better place for you which fills your purpose and your desires. I love that.
It's really, I have a phrase that I heard a long time ago that really is applicable. Tough on standards, not on people.
I love that.
It's not personal. I just, like, even if I have to have a disciplinary conversation with someone, the next second I'm not acting differently towards them. And if I have to separate employment, I encourage them to take the lessons from this onto the next thing. And if you need me as a reference, if you need to talk to me, I'm still here as
I'm still supporting you.
I'm still supportive. Yeah.
Even though we are not working together in this whatever sales team.
Correct. Unless it's something, egregious, like, someone stealing or hurting someone else, which case I probably don't want to be associated with you moving forward. But even that,
of course,
people can be rehabilitated. So, I don't really write anyone off for the most part. Again, unless you're really aggressively and willfully impacting someone else's health and happiness.
Yeah, exactly. If you're doing the right things, playing a good citizen, so to say, and a good person. So other than that, okay. If I have a couple of more questions, would that be all right with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. One thing that I also want to ask, I just cannot avoid asking you this. How do you deal with a customer who finds excuses all of a sudden not to buy from you? They are interested and they are, they're there and they like you and you have a good relationship, but then all of a sudden there's various of excuses.
It's a great question, and it's circumstantial to the individual. If you've done things well, you understand to at least somewhat of an extent the whys behind what's going on. You've identified why your product or service would be a benefit to them. I don't want to force anyone to do anything. That's never the intention. I'm all about value sale. And to me, it becomes follow-up. It's like salespeople, they send one email or they have one interaction and it doesn't, yield the results. And then they, goes bye-bye. Create a pipeline, create an organizational system so that you can periodically just circle back to the individual, because circumstances are always changing. So the person that seemed interested, but then came up with these excuses, whatever the case may be. And first of all, you want to try to help them work through the excuses in the moment. But if they're not ready or willing to do it, not gonna force it. So check in. Circumstances change. The same person that couldn't buy today,
it could be something that
a month from now they get their tax refund. They're getting married, and they're getting whatever the case may be. Circumstances change, and now they're ready because you've continued to check in on them and not be like, "Are you ready to buy? Are you ready to buy? Are you ready to buy?" Yeah, it's relationship. Exactly. Yeah. So have organization. So you have a steady pipeline of people to draw from at any given point in your career. So that's that.
I love that.
I think beyond that is trying again in the moment to figure out what that resistance point is. Asking people the question, what's holding you back?
Yeah, what's the issue behind, right?
Yeah, it's like, I know you said X, Y, and Z, and you said yes, and as a salesperson, you want to try to do your best to collect those yeses. Do you see how this is going to benefit you, et cetera? So it helps you keep them congruent or help overcome objections, rather, when you can point back and say, hey, listen, you said you see how this can work for you. You said that this is what you need. What's holding you back? Let me explain further and potentially provide a different solution that is more in alignment with what you need. But then beyond that is not BSing people and trying to force them into it. If it really isn't for them, referring. Then
there's someone else.
Yeah. Helping concierge that experience for people and making sure that, you've got a wide enough network where you can put them in touch with someone who may be a better fit, whether it's personality, product, service, or otherwise. There's a better fit. And again, that is paid forward in a lot of cases, significantly more so than BSing people to just get them to invest in working with you or purchasing from you. That doesn't do you any good, ultimately.
I love that. And you just mentioned something that reminds me of what I've heard and what I also experienced myself, that, if it's let's say that it's a personality issue or something like that, then you can find another person. That's why you have a team usually. And then because we all are different, but then in the end, if it's something else, then just serving the person, finding the solutions together with the customers, just being the human. I love what you mentioned about those, and just brought these same things again, which are critical in the sales as well.
You use the word solutions. That's how I look
Yes.
at. That's how I look at everything. Frankly, the name of my company is Knopf Knows Solutions, and I do that because I don't want to focus on the problems. I want to, notice that there are problems, but I want to go immediately towards the reasons we can and solve those things rather than why we can't. And I think that if salespeople are looking at themselves more as solution brokers rather than salespeople, it puts you in the right frame of mind to just, all right, let's problem solve here. Here's what it is. Let's figure out the different opportunities for solutions and let the customer choose the one that's best for them.
I love that. You just answered so many questions what I had. So I love this. This is a good conversation. I have 2 more questions and then we're going to wrap it up.
Sounds good.
Can a salesperson sell anything?
Yeah. Why not? I don't see any restrictions other than restrictions you place on yourself.
I love that.
Yeah, really. There's nothing that is coming to mind top of mind here that would be an inhibitor for you to sell anything. You said it earlier. We're selling all day, every day. I'm selling my kids on eating one more nugget to get dessert.
Yeah, eat the carrot, baby.
Yeah, whatever it is. So. Yeah. I think everyone is a salesperson when it's all said and done.
When you just think about it in that sense, right?
Yeah.
From that angle.
It doesn't, you don't have to have a negative association with it. It doesn't have to be pushy, aggressive, etc. You are brokering solutions for people.
I love that. And then one thing, how could you reward a team or a salesperson who's done a great job? What would be a good thing?
I proactively look to praise people for behaviors more so than productivity. I want to highlight the individuals that are working hard, doing the right thing, throwing an arm around a teammate, just really providing tremendous service to their clients, their customers. I think too often leaders look for what's wrong. I look for what's right. And
I love that.
When you're coming out of the blue with, hey, I noticed you doing X, Y, and Z from a action or behavioral standpoint, people just light up from that. And
that's true.
Yeah, to me, that's the easiest form of reward for people is make them or help
feel
them
good.
To feel valued, feel good, and they're going to want to work hard for themselves, let alone you and your team and company.
Excellent. Last question. Where can people find you if they want to work with you or learn more about you and your practices and coaching?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm located in New York. So physically, I always love meeting people. So you can find me in Manhattan and or Long Island in Woodbury here. But as far as social media and greater exposure like that, I know you're in Finland and we're talking.
Yeah, we're having this Helsinki, New York conversation at the moment.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, God bless technology. But
oh, yes.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Knopf Knows, KNOPF, KNOWS. My website, knopfknowssolutions.com, or on good old Facebook at Brett Knopf.
I love that.
But I love talking to people. I'd love to connect with anyone that this has resonated with, and I'm always looking to help to the best of my ability. So this has been fantastic. Find solutions. It's been a tremendous conversation.
Oh, it has been. I want to thank you so much, Brett, for being here and sharing your experiences and the skills and knowledge with me, but also with the listeners. So I truly want to thank you. And for everyone who has been listening to this Channel Business Podcast episode today about the sales and leadership in sales, I hope you got some valuable tips and tools, encouragement and inspiration with these insights from my amazing guest, Brett Knopf, today. So thank you again. And until the next time, Brett and my listeners, thank you so much.
Have a great day.